Hi, welcome to another episode of Azigos, and I'm your host, KT. And yeah, so I want to get straight into it today, man. I want to actually bring out the numbers because while I talk to y'all, the audience on camera, to fellow truck operating companies, I talk to people I'm connected to or small trucking companies who I'm friends with. I talk to them behind the scene, and we always having conversations. So a lot of the conversations we have behind the scene, I bring it to the air. And what I have came to a conclusion on is that we as truck drivers, for a lot of times, we meet the stereotype that people try to put on us. Yeah, we're a bunch of dumb MFers. I really want to say the real word, but I don't know if it's gonna be edited out because my sister, she does the editing with the editing team. So I really just want to call y'all a bunch of fuckers. And so I'm gonna break it all the way down for y'all today because me just speaking to you plain to plain, face to face, as if we just having a conversation and you got a workable knowledge about trucks, that I shouldn't have to break it down like this, but we gonna break it down today because me coming at y'all in a passive, friendly, non-aggressive manner, y'all ain't really getting it. And so me going through the data, because for professional people, I got a workable knowledge with SaaS data. I know your truck drivers or your typical podcast watcher, y'all don't understand terms like that. But I'm able to break down the data. And so I went through the data and I seen what you need to make the turn a profit. How much money you need to be making per mile to turn a profit. And these numbers are amazing. I'm gonna break down each process or each function and how much it costs. So what you should really be looking at for is how much you should be negotiating when you're talking about doing a load for a broker or a shipper or a receiver. And so the first thing that come up on the list, we're gonna talk about fuel. So right now, because of politics and what's going on in the overall world, this is like before all the conflict. So when we talking about like fuel, typically with fuel, you need to be making it costs about 55 to 80 55 to 80 cents per mile. This is if you talking about making a small profit. We ain't even talking a big profit. So off the top, for you to move that vehicle to take it anywhere, we talking about 55 to 80 cents per mile. Next, you have trucking payments and your lease. When you factor in and you prorate and based on what it takes, what you're paying for your trucking payment. I know a lot of y'all might be like, well, my truck paid off. Don't worry about it. It won't be paid off alone because you got that old ass truck. So here we go. Trucking payment and lease payment. We talking about you need to be making 25 cent to 45 cent per mile. Of course, those rates vary by truck price and financing. Next, you have on the list, you have insurance. We looking at 15 cents to 30 cents per mile, liability and cargo. And the way y'all YN and y'all foreigners out there driving, I know in the Georgia area, you really probably could double that insurance rate because one of my partners, he's an insurance broker. If you DM me, I could put you on him. But shit, y'all, the payments and what it's taking for your trucking insurance is going up by the second because they're having to pay too many payouts, especially in the Georgia area. You'll be more precautious because really right now, especially in Metro Atlanta, they doing a lot of construction, a lot of uneven roads, a lot of lane shifting, a lot of barricades, a lot of everything. You would think that the truckers would slow down or be more cautious and do more defense driving, but they not. I don't understand it. I see them blow past me every day, especially because I do a lot of going through I-20. I do a lot of traveling on I-20, and I pipe it all the way down, man, because I pretty much see a wreck on that little section where they doing construction on I-20. I pretty much see a wreck there really every night. I mean, jackknifing between the cars and the trucks. They still want to fly through there. I don't know. I don't understand it, but hey, that's your prerogative. So when we get back to it, like I said, insurance, 15 cents to 30 cents per mile. When we talking about maintenance and repairs, that's tires, unexpected repairs, service. To turn a profit or to maintain, that's gonna cost 15 to 25 cents per mile. Yes, sir. And so as we continue, we're looking at trailer costs. Now, a lot of y'all might be like, I'm an owner operator, or I'm not a carrier, dedicated carrier. But even on top of that, believe me, whoever authority you running up under, he's taking in this consideration, because unlike you, he just not a dumb MF with a CDL. He really thinking along the business line. So trailer costs, we talking about 5 cents to 15% per mile. Of course, if you renting, you probably can add an extra 15 cents on that. If you own it, you might can go more towards the 5 cents per mile. Next, what we have is pyramids, tolls, and compliance. We talking about stuff like your IRP, your IFTAs. A lot of y'all like to go, Ronald Reagan Turnpike down in Florida. I don't ever really go up northeast, but I heard that, the tolls going on to try to bypass going through New York and New Jersey, Philadelphia. I heard it's ridiculous. So according to these projections, you got to factor in 5 to 10 cents per mile. And so, and lastly, you have things for as miscellaneous, and they're calling that, and I think this is really too low. They talking about 5 to 15 cents per mile, because when you talking about miscellaneous, we talking about those who the carriers who have factoring companies. Now owner operators or the carriers, we talking about truck parking. The part that truck is ridiculous. When I first jumped into it, I was paying $85 a month to park my truck. That's within the metro Atlanta area. And now it has gotten all the way up to like $300, $275 a month. And so, of course, where I'm at, I don't quite pay that much because I got grandfathered in, but truck parking is ridiculous. Your factoring company, hopefully, the owner operator, they might not know anything about factoring, but of course, you carriers, y'all got to understand factoring. You talking about 3% at the bare minimum. But of course, when you're talking about factoring companies, they don't like to give you the whole payout until they receive their money from the broker. And so to get to that actually 3%, it might take like 45 to 60 days. A lot of times they gonna hold all the way up to 10%, 8% of the invoice. And so that could add up, especially with a lot of unscrupulous brokers out there right now. You don't know what you're running into. A lot of them losing their credibility. They losing their credit with the factoring companies, because for whatever reason they having a hard time about making they payouts. And I saying whatever reason, but see, when you try to lowball and pay trucking companies less, you're gonna get what you pay for. So on the front end, while it might look good, you getting an undocumented driver or a foreigner, when it look good on the front end because he taking the load for little anything, but see what's coming back to bite them if the load is not delivered without any complications. And when you add in the complications, of course, that's gonna hold up their payout, or they gonna have to pay the shipper or receiver because it wasn't done properly. It just make it a whole shit show. So you get what you pay for. You want premium service. If you want that type of driver, or that type of driver should require maximum payout. So yeah. And so when you add all that together, you typically talking about an operating cost $2.20 per mile. Now that's important, $2.20 per mile. Because when you go on the load boards and they give you your 15 or your 40 day, what's the average pay? A lot of it is right around $2. You got some brokers want to pay you $1.85. It's rare that you see in $3 per mile if you going anything over 100 miles in your delivery. So with that $2.20, because I'm gonna show you what you're dealing with, because I'm tired of playing softball with you. Let's just say you getting paid anywhere $2.20. You average $2.20 per mile on the load that you don't negotiate it for at this day and time, and that's what the average is for the year. Your revenue, your operating costs is gonna really typically come up to about $170,000 a year. Your revenue at $2.50 per mile, because you're roughly running 100,000 miles per year. And when you talking about anything over 100,000 miles, you need to take that maintenance up. See, they're just lightweight projections. This is not really taking in the nuances of operating a trucking company. And so averaging $2.50 per mile annually, operating costs causing 170,000 miles per year, your revenue coming in at $250,000 a year. So I know somebody who, work a regular job. They looking like, oh, $250,000 a year. Oh, you don't make that? That's good money. No, fool. It ain't good money, because your operating costs, with you taking on all the responsibility, you the main target, everybody else eating off you. You talking about the cost without the nuance, we talking about $170,000 a year. So when you look at the margins and you take out the operating costs, that's $80,000 a year that you don't make before taxes. Yeah, while you out here looking at on Instagram and looking at all of this buffoonery when it comes to truck driving and everything, you have a business and you telling me you're making you netting $80,000 a year. That's before taxes. Of course, if you are owner operator, or you are a carrier, a small carrier, $80,000 a year, you paying your own medical insurance. So you need to chop that down a whole lot more, and then you getting that little BS medical insurance where your deductible is so high that it's gonna take nothing short of a heart surgery for them really even to pay a portion. You look like a fool out here. And see, what get me so agitated, because I had a discussion with one of my partners who owned his own truck, and I was talking to him like, why we shouldn't do any load. This is probably about 2 months ago. I was talking to him about how we shouldn't do any load for the big carriers because they double brokering. And by him watching one of my videos or one of my shows and breaking it down like that, he was like, yeah, this about 2 months ago. He was like, yeah, you right, man. You right. Because we was talking about J.B. Hunt. He was like, yeah, I ain't gonna do no loads because, because J.B. Hunt they sending a lot of blast emails because they short on capacity. And just last week, we were just having common conversation, and of course, and I'm listening intently. He ain't even realize it. He talking about how, he just negotiated a load with a JB Hunt broker for X amount of dollars, and he was like, and he thinking because he getting about $3 a mile. Y'all ain't listening, because a lot of y'all use, I'm just surviving as an excuse. But when you tell me that you just surviving and you being in a situation where you just surviving, then that automatically lets me know that your spirit is dead. And that's why you don't have no problem getting bent over by brokers, your old lady, the YN in the street. It don't matter. The preacher, it don't matter. When you start putting your position to get bent over, everybody get to take their turn. So really, you need to diversify your company and start doing OnlyFans, so everybody can witness and eat popcorn and watch this grown ass truck driver who supposed to be the salt of the earth get bent over. So yeah, that's the breakdown, man. And this is kind of where I'm gonna start steering the programming on, man. I'm gonna break it down to you. I'm gonna break down the numbers to you, because data is important. And whether you want to or not, that's the age we going into. Data is everything. If you don't use the data, man, you don't even know you getting hit upside the head. Until next time, big trucks, big profits.